Hello, once again, this is Brother Teacher. I don't know what your martial arts style or system may be, but for the sake of this particular video, I'm just going to use the term karate as a generic term. So, in my title, I asked the question: does your karate work in the street, or is your karate good enough for the streets? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Have you ever had to use your skills in a street fight, confrontation, and attack? Have you? If you have, how well did you fare? Was it sketchy? Very difficult? Was it very easy for you? Have you had one or two incidents? Have you had several where you have had to use your skills? So, ladies and gentlemen, I would hope at the end of this video, when you have finished watching it, it's short, that you will leave in the comment section your own individual experiences with using your martial arts system or style in the street. Or even if you had to revert to using some form of street fighting coupled with those martial arts techniques. Some people I've heard in time past say, well, I had to use boxing too along with my martial arts training, and that helped me out a lot. So if you had to use something else to help you that you had learned prior to martial arts, let us know that as well. But for this particular video, I want to know what makes your martial arts good enough in the street. But let me help you out on one particular thing, and let me help you not be delusional. Now, there are hundreds of thousands of martial artists in the world. I want to say millions. I'm only speaking in the scope of my own experience. I know that there's perhaps millions, but for the sake of this video, let's just say hundreds of thousands of martial arts styles and systems and people practicing. Now, with that said, they're all based fundamentally on the same thing. Technique, training, mental status, if you will, or your mindset, how you train, how diligent you are in your training, how often you train. So one thing I come to realize with studying and training and teaching in the martial arts, the many years that I have so far, I've come to realize that there are a segment of us in the martial arts community that believe that tournament fighting is equal to street fighting. Do you agree or disagree? I hope you disagree. It doesn't mean that there are not some core principles in tournament fighting that come from the traditional side of martial arts, or from the fundamentals and or principles and concepts of your fighting part or your fighting system. I would hope that you have a fighting system within your martial arts school and not just a sport karate atmosphere, because there is indeed a distinct difference, and they are not the same, ladies and gentlemen. You can't take an individual that has won many championships in katas and kumite, for example, and call them a champion that can translate over into a street situation and you still have victories. It can happen, but not as often as you would think. You see, ladies and gentlemen, you have rules when it comes to sport karate competition. You have a referee, you have 3 to 4 judges, and they control what you do. They tell you when to stop, when to pause, and when to start again. They can stop it at any moment. They can help prevent injury by interfering in the match. And oftentimes it is a matter of perception. What judge saw the other individual strike you, or you strike them? Sometimes it's not always cut and dry, it's not clear. Sometimes it could be just, it looked like you hit him with that roundhouse. It looked like that was a nice spinning back kick, but you could have hit the guy in the elbow. Okay? So you have people's opinions sometimes, and not always necessarily what actually happened. It is what they perceived happened. Even though there are many times, oftentimes, it's plain and clear who got the technique. Now, when you're in a street fight, there's no one going to intervene and say, hey, stop. Then you can start again. Pause for a second. Let him take a break. Let him fix his belt. Come back. Stop. You kicked him in the groin. Give him a minute. Then you can start again. It's not going to happen in the street. So, if you don't have that controlled environment in a street fight, then grade yourself on that as far as how you train in the martial arts right now. Do you train for the street? Do you train as close to reality for a street confrontation? Or are you only practicing for tournaments? Ask yourself this question. Am I seriously preparing myself for the possible encounter of another person in a street situation? Am I confident enough in my training, my mental capacity to focus when I train, and to train as if my life depended on it in training, in my school, in my dojo, my dojang, my kun, my training hall? Am I training like my life is at stake, or the well-being? Am I training as if I'm protecting my family, my children? Or is it just a hobby? Win a few trophies, first, second, third place, maybe a medal, and I'm good. Are you training with that mindset? If you're training with that mindset, you're not going to fare too well in a street confrontation. You're just not. And if you've been in the martial arts for some years, enough years, you need to be in shape. I don't care how old you are. 30, 40, 50, 60s, 70s. You need to be in a reasonable portion of health. I'm not talking about things that you can't control. I'm talking about what you can control. You need not be a drug taker if you don't have to. You don't need to be taking prescription drugs if you don't have to. Consult with your doctor. You don't need to be taking drugs, illegal drugs, on top of that. You shouldn't be obese on top of that. You need to train often if you're going to receive the best results in your training. That way, when you are faced with that other individual and the monkey's on your back, you have the confidence that I can stand here and hold my own if I had to. And I'm not delusional by thinking that all of those past tournament wins are going to get me over in a street fight. So be true to yourself, my friend. Now, my question as I conclude is this again. Is your martial arts or is your karate good enough for the street? Let us know.